Hey, everybody, welcome to the Ronline Report. My pleasure today to introduce you to an up-and-coming amateur. You probably haven't heard of him yet, but you are going to hear all about him in the next few months. Please welcome Carlos Thomas Jr. How are you, Carlos?
I'm good. I'm good. How you doing, Ron?
Good, good. So the first time I met you, we did a little brainstorming before this because my brain's like scrambled eggs. It was at the Arnold
Same.
Classic, which was this year. It seems like it was 10 years ago to me, but that was just.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you're with your dad, who must be Carlos Thomas Sr., I'm guessing?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. If you see me, you're probably gonna see my dad.
Yeah, I mean that's great because
Yeah.
I'm a dad. I try to spend as much time with my son as possible. And I lost my dad when I was young, so I really appreciate father-son bond more than maybe regular people do. So I think that's what drew me to you guys. I thought it was cool that your dad
Hmm.
was. I talked to you guys for a few minutes, and he's so supportive of your career, but
Yeah.
he also said, I looked at him like, oh my God, you're massive. And I said, when's your next show? And I think your dad cut me right up. He says, he's not doing anything until he finishes his master's degree, which you did
Correct.
probably June or July? When did you do that?
May. May was the graduation. Well, the commencement. We had the online ceremony. Graduated with my master's from Villanova.
Yeah. So that's a great dad putting priorities first because, bodybuilding's great
Yeah.
and all that. And I have no doubt you're going to be a very, very good bodybuilder.
Thank
I
you.
don't doubt you're going to be a pro and you're going to be a good pro eventually, but first things first, get that education, get that degree, and then get all that. So I
Hmm.
know very little about you. So tell me all about it. Where'd you grow up and what kind of things were you into as a young guy, as a kid?
Yeah. Well, so I grew up right here in Wilmington, Delaware, which is where I'm living now still. And as a kid, I was always, an athletic kid into, sports. I started off playing, baseball and, like any kid, I was just kind of figuring out what was my sport, what was my lane. So I went from baseball to soccer to, I ran track and I even did some martial arts, until I found football. And then I kind of found like that was my lane. And I pretty much stuck with football from all the way from high school to college.
So did you get into weight training for football or were you into it for these other sports even before football?
I got into weight training for football. Speaking of my dad, he's such a good dad. He had gifted me a personal trainer from our local YMCA for my
Wow.
birthday. Yeah, and I actually was really lucky because the personal trainer that I had, he taught me everything from A to Z, how to lift, form, technique, Olympic lifts, and I was 14 years old
Wow.
when he taught me all this. So going into like high school and college, I had a pretty solid base with weightlifting, a little bit more of an upper hand than like the other kids.
Okay. Because, looking at you now, you're gigantic. I'll bring some pictures up and stuff, but did you respond very well to weights in the beginning? Did you get muscular but not big? I mean, what kind of results did you see from like the first year or two of weight training?
Yeah, so I was always like a leaner kid anyway. I wasn't really big, but I was just leaner.
Yeah.
So picking up weights, I responded pretty quickly. I guess like I caught the bug and I got addicted to it. So the local YMCA was probably like a mile from my house. So I would
Wow.
jog that mile from my house as a warm up, and then go lift weights and then jog the mile back. And that was like what I would do when I was like 14 and 15 and getting ready for football camp. So yeah, I responded pretty well to weights. I think each year from my freshman year of high school until I got into college, I went from like 130 to 140 to 150. So I put on 10 pounds about each year going into until I got to college, and I probably settled in around maybe 180 when I got to my freshman and sophomore year of college.
Okay. I'm trying to remember how tall you are. I know you're not like 6'3" or anything, but how tall are you?
No, I'm 5'7".
Okay. Okay. We're about the same height. So, yeah, that's interesting because football is how so many guys get into weights and so many pros played football. There's a
Yeah.
lot of similarities, I think, psychologically and just the weights in general prepare you for it. But was that your dream? Did you want to play in the NFL or was that just something you were good at and had a lot of fun with?
Yeah, yeah. Like any kid coming up, you kind of like you see, yeah, I was a running back, so I saw the Walter Payton clips, the Barry Sanders clips, the um, LaDainian Tomlinsons and Adrian Peterson's coming up, and I was like, I want to be like those guys and be in the NFL. And I worked my butt off. There was my dad could tell you like there was never a time where I wasn't training, like for football or running track in the spring. so I can get faster for football. So, or training or lifting for football. So a lot of my my aspirations were like, hey, I want to definitely go to the NFL. But as you get older, you kind of realize things, you may not make it to the NFL. So, yeah.
Okay. And you had an injury that basically ended your football career. What happened?
Yeah. So my junior year of my collegiate football career, I ended up hurting my neck. I took a bad hit, and I think the doctor said that my spinal cord was pinched. And what happened was I lost all feeling from the neck down for a few minutes, and they had to, airlift me out of there and get me to like the local hospital over in Baltimore because I went to college in Maryland.
Yeah.
And the doctor basically said, he's like, he said, do you think you're going to play in the NFL? And I was like, I don't think so. And he was like, well, you should probably stop playing football. So, yeah. So that's when I stopped playing football.
Yeah. They didn't tell you something like, if it had been a millimeter to the right, you would have been paralyzed or something like that, right?
No, it wasn't anything like too drastic. But it did say I had like spinal stenosis. So it's just a thinning of the spinal column, I guess as they said. And they just advised me not to play again unless I would want to risk re-injury or something serious.
Right. So is that what led you into bodybuilding, was getting away from football because you really had no choice?
Yeah. Well, at the time I was also running track collegiately, and that was pretty decent at that as well. So I had like two choices. It was okay, do you want to go and do like bodybuilding? Because I kind of had a little bit of knowledge in bodybuilding. I've always grew up watching Jay Cutler. I've seen who hasn't seen a Ronnie Coleman video growing up?
Come on, please.
Phil Heath, when I was kind of coming up, he was getting into his reign. So I had like two options: is either keep running track, or get ready to do like a bodybuilding show. And I chose bodybuilding because I love the weight room, and I actually love the weight room more than I love playing football.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do something that involves weightlifting, and that was bodybuilding. So that's where I kind of took my lane and going into bodybuilding, and I hooked up with a local trainer here, and the rest is kind of history.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, if a young guy wants to get into bodybuilding, obviously there's with the internet, social media, it's a lot easier to figure out what's what now than it was many years ago. Trust me.
Mm-hmm.
But for your first show, did you know like what organization I'm going to compete in, what show, how do I pose? Did somebody walk you through all that?
Yeah. So the trainer is a local guy here. I mean, a lot of people know of him as Fred Biggie Smalls.
Oh yeah, geez, come on now. Why
So
didn't you should have said so in the first place?
So Fred, so he's right, probably maybe like 20 minutes away from where I stay. So found him actually on the internet, started looking like bodybuilding trainers in my area, and he came up. So I walked into his office, and he was like, "Drop your pants," and I was like, whoa, like I don't know, I've never been around this before. Like, what do I do? How do you pose? And he just showed me how to pose, and he was like, okay, this he picked out the show I would do. And he kind of like led me through the whole process of, getting ready for my first bodybuilding competition.
Yeah, and he's one of the most entertaining posers. He's won best poser, I think, at the Arnold at several shows. He's very entertaining. Doesn't just go hit a crab here, walk over there, hit another crab. He puts on a good
jump
show.
split he does is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's right, he does. He jumps up, doesn't he touch his toes in the middle?
Yeah.
Like that. That's nuts.
Yeah.
So what was your first show?
My first show was the Maryland State East Coast Classic, where I did the novice there, and it's been so long. I won my novice class, and I did the open as well, and I won my open class. And then from there, Fred was like, "You want to do Team Universe?" And he's like, "It's a national show," and I was like, "I don't know what a national show is."
Yeah.
But I'll do it, So I ended up doing Team Universe, and I placed, I think it was fourth in the middleweight.
Light heavies, it says on my thing.
Yeah.
I actually show that you competed. Tell me, is this wrong? Because some of the websites I look up, they're not, the accuracy isn't always correct. 2014 Collegiate Nationals. Did you do that show?
I did that right after Team U.
So that would have been, yeah, they must have the years wrong. So did you start competing in 2016, 4 years ago?
No, I ended up competing in 2014, but I took time off. I took a lot of time off in between shows. Gotcha. As I was getting my degrees and taking time off.
Yeah, I should ask this right up front. How old are you?
I'm 28. I just turned 28.
Just a kid. So much. Got your whole life ahead of you, Carlos.
Yeah.
So, What was it like when a national show is it's a big change from a local and regional level. What was it like for you being in a national show with all these other young guys who were, the big deal in their area?
It just happened so quick. And, like I jumped right into bodybuilding and I did 3 shows like immediately back to back. Like I didn't even know what dieting was. I didn't even know like what it felt like to, quote unquote suffer for or do or get into shape. I didn't know anything about it. So it was kind of like you just kind of just do it, just do what you're told, type of thing. So when Fred was like, "Hey, let's do that. Let's do Team U," I was like, "Cool." He's like, "Hey, let's do Team Collegiate Nationals," and I was like, "Cool." So I just did them, and I had a great time. I think I placed like second in like light heavies and at Collegiate Nationals, and
Yeah.
that was a great show. And then from there, I ended up tearing my ACL after that show,
Oh
actually.
no. What the in the training phase, the rebound right after the show?
Yeah. I ended up tearing. It's just dumb luck. It was just like dumb luck slipping outside in the rain, and I ended up twisting it pretty bad. But I think I had injured it previously playing football anyway.
Yeah.
So it was probably something that was bound to happen at some point. But then just some dumb luck, bad luck.
Did,
So
did, did you get any surgery to repair that, or just healed on its own?
yeah. So I ended up getting surgery later on that year on my left knee to repair the ACL and the meniscus. And so that was why I ended up having a big gap, and I took 2015 off, and I didn't compete again until 2016.
Wow. So I know your knee's fine now because at the gym opening, we'll talk about you were at the Brandon
Yeah.
Curry's gym opening a few weeks ago down in is it Murfreesboro? Yeah, that's the second
Hmm.
location of Carbon Culture USA. And I don't know, you were probably just messing around. This is probably not even a heavy day for you. I think you started off with 9 plates on the hack squat on each side. And it was like a
We
drop
loaded
set
it
that
up.
went on for 20 minutes, it seemed like. I filmed a lot of it. I think you
Yeah, we
went like
loaded it
nine
up.
plates, 7, 5, 3. Ended up being like 500 reps or something ridiculous. And I don't even remember you having knee wraps on. I don't think you did.
No,
Did you?
no, I usually don't do a lot of the knee wraps. I kind of tend for the knee sleeves. I feel like the knee wraps kind of help a little bit too much for me. So I usually go for the knee sleeves, and I think I had my knee sleeves on that day.
Yeah. Do you ever hear Dorian Yates's quote about knee wraps?
No, I haven't heard his quote. What do you say?
He's got a lot of funny little. It's dry British humor. Someone said he said someone asked me said one time, Dorian, why don't you use knee wraps? You could squat a lot heavier if you did. He goes, I could put a giant spring up my ass and squat heavier too, but I'm not going to do that. But I'm thank you, Dorian Joe. Yeah, he's hilarious when he wants to be. So, when was the last time you competed? How many years ago has it been now?
It's coming up on 3 years actually.
Yeah.
Was it 2017 Nationals?
Yeah, I saw you took top five in the nationals, which is, dude,
Yeah,
if you're top five in the nationals, you're pro caliber. You're up
yeah,
there because you beat out, especially middleweights. I bet there were like 30 or 40 of them. There had to
yeah.
be.
It was a quite stacked class. And I remember the winner was Ron Gallup. He was really cool dude. He's been doing class physique now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he won the middleweights that year, and he looked really good. It was a really good class.
The shows all kind of blend together because they're all in Florida, but they're named like Chicago or Tampa or whatever. But yeah, he did very well this year. I saw him a couple times. He's out of Texas, Ron Gallup. Yeah. Um, yeah. So that was 3 years ago, and you were middleweight. So what's your off season progress? Because you've definitely put on some really good size since then. So what'd you weigh
Yeah.
before Nationals diet, and what was the highest you got up to this year before you started coming down?
The highest I got up to was 250.
Ooh, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
250.
you carry well because you have very small joints. That 250 looks like 280. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
we got to throw up your Instagram. What is your Instagram?
Instagram is Carlos underscore Thomas Jr. underscore. So it's just my
Okay,
name.
yeah, because there's probably a few Carlos Thomases out there. Yeah, because
Mhm.
there's like a few Ron Harrises. I've looked into it. I'm not the only one. Because yeah, like I said, I saw you and I kept asking your dad, when's he going to compete? When's he going to compete?
Yeah.
And well, first I got to ask one thing about the pandemic because everyone's got a
Mhm.
pandemic story and how they got through it as a bodybuilder. So how what was your training like this year? What were your plans and how did the pandemic change them as far as bodybuilding?
So the plan was to do like the either like the USA's or do North Americans.
Mhm.
Obviously, the USA's got moved later on this year.
Yeah.
and because of the pandemic, and I was actually without a gym for a while. We decided to go ahead and kind of just push that back as well, and not do the North Americans. By the time I got in the gym, it was a little bit too. We felt it was a little bit too late.
Yeah. So you were down in Carbon Culture USA for the grand opening with huge Team HD Muscle. They must have had about a dozen people down there. Yeah, you guys were there in force for sure. Dorian was there, Mariah was there, the two out of the three Hamiltons, tons of athletes. So how did you hook up with Dorian Hamilton as a coach and HD Muscle as your company, your sponsor?
So I was visiting Canada. I think it was maybe last year, June or July, and I was like, I saw this gym. Like one of my friends, she told me about this gym, and called Pure Muscle and Fitness, and I was like, I was in Toronto, and
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, yeah, I'll come up and check it out. So we both went and checked it out. It was, and I messaged them on Instagram, and I was like, hey, can I come in? This is when they were like not really open, but they were kind of letting people in. So I checked it out, and then ran into Antoine there, and ran into Dorian and Noah and everyone, and I posed for them, and Dorian was like, wow, you look really great. So we kind of kept in touch a little bit, and then last year around, I think I want to say August or September, that's when we kind of linked up to start coaching, and he became my coach.
Okay. What are don't give away the whole program, but what are some types of things he changed? Did he change anything about your training, your nutrition, any major things that you were doing differently?
Yeah, he changed. Like for my nutrition, like I eat more carbs in the off season than I ever have before. I eat more food than I ever have before, in any off season. But the cool thing was that like I didn't get out of shape. Like I didn't get fat. I didn't get like bloated or anything. So he took very good care in making sure my digestion was great, making sure my health was great, and that everything was just on point. So this was probably like one of the best off seasons I've ever had as far as like gaining size and maintaining good condition.
Okay. If you could only pick three of the HD Muscle products, if they
Oh
would
man,
only give you three, I know
three.
they give you everything, I hope. But what three are your favorites? The top three, I should say.
Top three, I'm gonna say the Carb HD peach mango flavor.
Yeah.
That's a great carb product. Mainly because again, digestion. Like I have sensitive stomach, and a lot of these products out here, like the sweeteners or whatever they use, just kind of just upset my stomach. But the whatever's in the Carb HD, as far as like the sweeteners they use, doesn't upset my stomach. It also uses Carb 10, which is I think pea starch, so it digests a little bit better than like just straight cluster dextrin. And then I would say this is only available to the U.S. It's not in Canada, but pre-HD Black. That one is really good. That's a really good pre-HD pre-workout. I usually do 2 scoops of that before my training sessions. And then for a third product, I'll have to say lately I've been really, since I've been cutting and prepping for the shows, is the Burn HD. That's a really good fat burner. Doesn't really give you like a very high stim feeling, but it gives you a nice elevated mood, and as well as has cortisol control in it. So those are like my top three. I would say at the moment would be like the Carb HD, Pre HD Black, and then the Burn HD.
I'd say there's a lot of pre-workouts out there that probably jack up your cortisol because they get you all cracked out and freaked
Yeah, I
out
hate
and
that.
paranoid.
I hate that feeling.
So you just earned your degree at Villanova. It was help me out. It was communication with certain specialty or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Specialty focuses in public relations and community relations.
Okay. And you are working in the medical field, it sounds like. An
Uh,
Alzheimer's genetics research lab?
yeah, yeah. So I was just previously working for the Penn Memory Center, which is still with Penn Medicine, and they're just another ADRC, so an Alzheimer's research center, and just now started working for a genetics lab, doing their outreach and communications and social media and things like that. So I don't know. I'm not like diagnosing anyone or
That's
reading
okay.
anyone's brain scans or anything. But we actually are releasing a huge study called the Asian Cohort um, Alzheimer's disease study. And it's involving 3 sites in Canada and 4 or 5 sites in the US. So it's a pretty big endeavor, and I have a very large part in it. So yeah, I'm enjoying my work, and I get to work from home too. So I can't complain.
It's the best, isn't it? But
Yeah.
so does Alzheimer's have any special meaning to you? Did you have any, any family that suffered from it or anything?
Yeah, yeah. I had some family that suffer from dementia, not Alzheimer's in particular, but other forms of dementia related in in neurodegenerative diseases.
Yeah.
So when I, excuse me, so when I saw like this job opening come up, I was like, man, like this is something that I'm already passionate about, and I get to use my degree to, work in this field, and
Yeah.
it's for a great, great company. Penn Medicine is awesome, and I just love it there. I can't complain at all.
Yeah. I feel like Alzheimer's will be completely cured in our lifetime. Well, maybe your lifetime, maybe
I
not
hope
mine.
so. I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
There's a lot of research going around right now, and that's why I love this study is because we're focusing on a population which is I guess understudied. The Asian American population and the other, or the African American population, which I worked with in my previous position. So it definitely helps me feel like I'm making an impact in people's lives and educating people, which is something that means a lot to me.
Yeah. So back to meathead stuff. Ronnie
Mhm.
Coleman was very, very popular, not only for his physique, but because he was so crazy strong. I've seen a little bit of your training, and it seems like you've got a little bit of the Ronnie in you. What are some gym lifts, some weights you throw around on? They throw around. That makes it sound like you literally throw them around. But what are some of the lifts that you do in the gym? Just throw out some things that you're really strong at, because there's people out there that love this. They love to hear about it.
All right. It's like for me, it's always been like legs. I've always been a very strong like squatter. Because growing up, I saw running backs like Maurice Jones-Drew, who had huge legs as like a running back. So I was like, I looked at that guy. I was like, I want to be like him. So
Mm.
what do I got to do? So I was like, I'll just squat until I can't squat anymore. So I would squat like coming through high school and college twice a week, heavy, a lot of reps. So people are like, man, how do you get your legs? I was like, I lifted heavy with a lot of reps
Yeah.
for years. And my knees hurt now, but it's okay. But yeah, as far as squats, like the heaviest I've ever went on a squat, I was probably like around 19 years old, and
Wow.
and I think I did like 595 for one max rep, and that was no knee wraps. That was beltless too. Like that
19
was
years old. Wow.
yeah, I was a strong kid growing up, and yeah, but far as like other lifts, deadlifts, not the strongest on deadlifts. 6 plates is my most I've ever done for one rep. Um,
It's a good
for
amount of
what?
weight, guy.
Yeah, um, and then bench press. Mostly been focusing on incline pressing. The most I've ever done on an incline press lately was 5 plates, and I was like the max in my off season.
Dude, come on. That's elite. How many people have ever inclined 5 plates? Not that many. Trust me.
Yeah, yeah. So
Well,
we're,
they
we're
might have
pushing some
inclined
good weight.
3 and their spotter was upright rowing 225. But yeah, I mean, I could tell you have a density to the muscles that you don't get from pumping and machines and light weights. It's a lot of heavy free weights. Just looking at you, you can see that immediately.
Yeah,
Um,
we have a good saying, and me and my trainer, we have a saying. It's a heavy weight and a lot of reps.
mm,
It's like what's on the schedule for today? Heavy weight and a lot of reps.
yeah.
So
And
that's what you have.
to a lot of people that doesn't make sense. They go, wait a minute. If it's that heavy, you wouldn't be able to do that many reps. But yeah, try to explain that for the people that can't wrap their minds around that concept.
Right. Well, you have different intensity techniques that people use. You can use you use your drop sets, you can use your cluster sets, you can use your rest pauses, and those are some of the things that we mainly use. So when I say like heavy weights and a lot of reps, it may not mean doing like 5 plates for 12 or 15 straight reps, but if I can get it for 6 and then do a rest pause and then do it for 4 more, then we're doing heavy weight with a lot of reps, considerably a lot of reps for that amount of weight. So usually that's like what I said when we say like heavyweight, a lot of reps. It's definitely using like these intensity techniques, drop sets, cluster sets, and rest pauses.
Okay, cool. So the last time you competed, you were middleweight, 176 and a quarter pounds,
Hmm.
which you look like you ate that guy now. But right now, you were about to do nationals, and it seemed to me like you were probably going to be a super. What were you looking at as far as coming into the nationals at? Any idea?
Yeah, we were looking at heavyweight. I think my weight was probably around when we decided to move on to do Arnold's. My weight was 224, 225.
Okay.
And we just decided that that I wanted to bring in the package that I wanted to bring in and that Dorian wanted to bring in, where we felt like we would just clean house, that we wanted to bring a little bit more density to my back. So we decided to just, go ahead and put a little bit more size on. And the Arnold's was the next show coming up in about 17 weeks.
Yeah. Wow. So you in Tennessee a few weeks ago, you were only about 225.
I was probably about 235, 236.
I was gonna say you looked
237.
mad. If I would have guessed you at like 250 easily, and I'm usually pretty good about guessing weight, but yeah, you have, geez, the waist, everything. The pictures you put up on Instagram, I'll throw a couple of them up, and they almost look photoshopped. I know they're not, but that's the
Thanks.
illusion that you create. Because like, what's your waist get down to when you're in shape?
Mm, I'm not too sure. Probably maybe I can't even call it. Maybe 20, 25, 26.
I don't mean to
Yeah,
laugh,
like
but 25, 26 inches.
like if you're pulling a good pulling
Good
a good
God.
vacuum. Like
Okay.
when you hit your front poses, you pull a good vacuum. My waist
Yeah.
could probably be around like 26 inches,
Okay.
like all around.
That's what I'm talking about. That's why it's an illusion because
Yeah, it's an illusion.
your waist is so tiny and then everything just goes flares
Yeah,
up. You have these massive delts and arms and
and,
everything
yeah. You
else.
see Keon when he pulls that vacuum, his waist looks like it's disappeared.
Yeah. So yeah, who are some of the people now in either classic or open that you sort of, I don't want to say look up to, but who are some of your favorite physiques out there right now that you really have a lot of respect for?
Definitely, like I just mentioned, Keon. He's my HD teammate. Um, he is, definitely a hard worker, and the progress he made under Dorian was undeniable as well. Um, and growing, seeing, athletes like George Peterson,
Mm.
seeing him progress to 212 from Classic was awesome. I've been up to Bev's a few times and seen talked with him. Um, and also one guy that I really really appreciate and is been like sort of a mentor to me sometimes is he's been in the game for a while, but as open bodybuilders, John De La Rosa.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
he's an awesome guy. Definitely look up to him as one of the bodybuilders that I would aspire to be like.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what's your plan? Because I mean, you have your degree, you have a real job, so you're not going to like go broke living on someone's couch or anything, like some
Mhm.
guys I've known. But what are your aspirations? Obviously you want to turn pro, and then what are some of the shows that you'd love to do someday? Who are some of the athletes you'd love to stand next to in the next couple of years if you could?
Yeah, definitely. The top guys in the 212. As you see, is I met Derek Derek Lunsford for the first time down at Carbon Culture. Awesome guy. I would have to. He even invited me to come down and train with him down in Florida, so I have to take him up on that. And he said he would love to stand next to me as well. So that's one guy coming up that I would love to stand next to. Crazy physique, like insane physique.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so he is definitely one guy that like is that I'm aspiring to like get on that type of level where he's at. But I don't know if I would ever let go of my job right now because I love it.
No, no,
Love
I didn't
doing
say
it.
to do that. No, no, no.
But yeah, I would love to get to a place where bodybuilding is also comfortably supporting me as well.
Sure. Yeah. What kind of reaction do you get from these guys? Because you look like a pro right now. You have that look, that shape, the muscle size, that's
Mhm.
it's a different look than most people that go to the gym. Even if they get big and everything, they just don't have that look. So when someone like a Lunsford sees you, do they have a lot of good things to say to you about your potential?
Definitely, definitely. He had great words to say, great words of encouragement. Um, and same as when I met guys like Breon for the first time, Breon Ansley. I met George for the first time. When I met John for the first time, a lot of these guys have nothing but great things to say, great pieces of advice. At the Arnold Classic, met William Bonac. Probably gave me some of the best advice that I've ever had coming up in bodybuilding. Um, he was very very inspirational to me, and to see his come up from even coming from the 212 to open, which is something that I would love to do someday, is to progress from 212, once going pro and then going into the open, because I feel like my body can grow into that.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, generally everyone has like great things to say. I've never ran into anyone saying anything negative. So yeah, generally everyone in the sport has been kind to me in all levels.
What was Bonak's advice? Can you tell me?
Yeah, most of it was just like trusting myself and believing in my own abilities. And he also told me to focus on using this more than this, my hands, when it comes to like doing work. So when I told him I was finishing my graduate degree, as I was in the process of it, he really encouraged me to finish that and to pursue a position that doesn't require me to be physically active all the time. And then that way I can put most of my physical exertion into bodybuilding and training. And so that was a really, really good tip that he gave me, because a lot of people don't really focus on, the aspects outside of bodybuilding. But he definitely did. And that was a really good piece of advice.
Back to your dad, Carlos Sr. for a second.
Mm-hmm.
He seems incredibly supportive, which is it's so good to see. Does he follow the sport? Does he say, well, this guy's going to be your competition, or this I'd love, and when you're a pro, that guy's, how closely does he follow the sport, and where does he support you as far your dreams as far as being a pro bodybuilder?
Oh yeah, most definitely, 100%. Anything that I've ever done, my dad has just dived all the way in and kind of becoming enthralled, almost more than me. Like he's calling me up, like today with the British Grand Prix. Did you see this guy? Did you see that guy? Did you see the Angel guy? That's the guy. Like that's the guy that you want to be looking like. Things like that. Like my dad is, like he's all in 100% all the time in anything that I do, and I'm really blessed because growing up where I'm from, a lot of guys don't have guys like that. And dads like that, and my dad is a dad to other dads. I mean, to other guys like me, other kids. So they all call him Papa Carlos or Papa Los, because he's always just encouraging all the other kids as I grew up, and taking us out to trips and hanging with us. And so yeah, he's definitely always been 100% into anything that I've been doing.
That's awesome because so many people I talk to, bodybuilders, their parents, they don't really get it. They're never gonna get it. They're kind of worried about why can't you eat this chocolate cake here like everyone else at the party? Why can't you have this pizza? They just never get it, and they don't really. If they go to the shows, they still don't get it. They don't know why their kid didn't win. Or, I mean, I bet your dad could probably do play-by-play commentary on a show if you really made him.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
probably
yeah.
he's probably got the eye for it and everything.
He even said he wanted to. He actually said that he wanted to like take like a class to like judge one day. Like he wanted to actually
Yeah,
get into it. So he
yeah.
loves the sport just as much as I do.
Well, today is the first time I found out you're not doing nationals. I thought you were doing nationals, but
Yeah, this
you
is
know,
you're the first person I told. So
wow. Thank you
besides like my
for.
family and my coach.
I'm kind of bummed because I wanted to.
I know.
I had you winning the nationals, dude. I really did. I mean, I don't even know who's going, and now they're all going to be like all the other guys are like, Harris, you suck. How dare you? Because they all want to win, but
I
you're
appreciate that, man. Thank you.
you're. I'm glad that you did this because I didn't. I'm not going to say I discovered you. Obviously, Dorian's been working with you and everything, but it's not going to be long before everybody knows who you are. So I wanted to get this up fairly soon because you're going to be a big deal. You really are, and I'm glad that you hooked up with a great coach like Dorian and a company like Team HD that's going to be what you need. They're going to support you and get your face out there and everything else because they've got their act together with their social media and their videos and all that for sure. Definitely. So you're going to be seeing a lot more of you. I have no doubt. But
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're gonna be around for a long time.
I'm glad I got the sneak preview, got the early edition. So yeah, that's it, man. Again, I guess you're 17 weeks out now.
Yeah. 17 weeks now.
Yeah, I can't believe it's coming up again, the Arnold. Wow.
It's coming fast. This
I
year
guess
is almost
I
going.
guess if it seems like it was 10 years ago, we should be having another Arnold soon.
Yeah,
But
it makes
yeah,
sense. The
let's
math.
let's just pray everything goes off
I'm
when
hoping
it's
so.
supposed to, where it's supposed to. They don't move everything to Tampa. I like Tampa, but come on, I don't want to go there for every damn show.
Every show. Yeah.
But yeah, wishing you the best of luck, and we'll be following you, watching your progress because it's good to have amateurs we can get excited about because for so long we have not had any amateurs like really making names for themselves? Because people turn pro so fast these days. You don't get a chance to even know them before they turn pro, and then they disappear for a year or two before they do their first pro show. So trying to get the hype going for the amateur
Thank you.
stuff again. It
Thank
used to
you.
be.
Yeah, our goal is definitely to, when we, step on stage, to clean house, and then, be able to translate into a pro show, such as like the New York Pro, or, a Chicago Pro, or, we want to be able to, go straight into it, aspire to be like the guys from like the 90s who went straight into pro debuts and definitely did damage. The Kevin Lerones, the Flex Wheelers, those are the guys that, we definitely aspire to be like. And I really appreciate you for having me on, Ron. Always a pleasure. And if my dad was here, he probably would bust in here and take over the interview. But I'll let him know that you said hi. And thank you again.
You're very welcome. Everybody, thanks for watching Ronline Report. You'll be seeing a lot of this guy, like I said, Carlos Thomas Jr., competing next at the Arnold Amateur, Columbus, Ohio. Only 17 weeks away. It's coming up, guys.
Coming up quick.
So stay tuned, guys. You'll be seeing more. Thanks for watching.